Hey there and welcome to Scandal Steep. There was a widespread belief that it was merely an unfortunate mishap, but now there's growing talk that Rich Homie Quan might have been set up. This rumor forces us to take a deeper look because, if these whispers are true, it changes everything we thought we knew. Let's break it down and figure out what might truly be going on. To understand the significance of this situation, we need to start with Rich Homie Quan himself, a rapper who dramatically changed the landscape of the rap game. While most people recognize his name and contributions, few truly know how wild his journey was. Quan didn't just rise to the top, he had a tumultuous path, filled with personal struggles and internal beef with his own crew. His story started on the east side of Atlanta, where he grew up living with his mother and siblings. On weekends, he would stay with his father in Decatur. Quan wasn't always immersed in the music scene. Early on, his life revolved around reading and baseball, and he was so skilled on the field that he even earned a scholarship to play at Fort Valley State University. Unfortunately, despite his scholarship, college remained financially out of reach, and after a year, he was forced to drop out due to the steep costs. Without baseball or school, Quan felt lost, and that's when he started down a different path, one that led to crime. He began working at an airport, but the routine 9-to-5 life wasn't for him. Before long, he found himself breaking into houses and committing robberies. In a 2022 interview with Vlad TV, Quan clarified that while he did break into homes, he never did so when people were inside. His first experience with robbery happened almost by accident. Some friends told him they were going to cut grass, but Quan had no idea they were actually planning to break into a house. That day, Quan didn't go inside, but the whole group still got caught and ended up in jail. Quan was released the next day, but this experience led him to think he could pull off robberies if he was smarter about it than his friends. For a few months, Quan broke into homes, but it didn't take long for him to get caught again. This time, he faced more serious charges, landing him in jail for over a year. His time behind bars marked a major turning point in his life. Quan had already been dabbling in rap before his arrest, but he wasn't serious about it. For the first 6 months in jail, no one even knew he could rap. That changed one day when another inmate started freestyling, and Quan realized he was better. He jumped in and started spitting bars, impressing everyone. Inmates were so impressed they even gave him snacks just to hear him rap more. That's when Quan knew he could make it in the music world. When he was released from jail, Quan set up a small studio in his mother's garage and started recording. His life took a major turn when he connected with a guy named Tay, who was already making waves in the underground scene. Tay introduced Quan to a real studio and gave him a crash course on how the rap industry worked. Tragically, just as things were picking up for Quan, Tay was shot and killed. Losing his friend pushed Quan to work even harder. He invested in better equipment, returned to his mother's garage, and spent all his money pressing CDs. He started distributing them across Atlanta, and soon enough, a guy named Fly heard his music for the first time. Fly ran an independent label called TIG and was so impressed with Quan that he wanted to sign him immediately. In a later interview, Quan admitted that he was broke when he signed the deal for $199,000. Instead of taking the entire amount at once, Quan asked Fly to give him $400 a week so he could live comfortably while building his career. Quan's buzz started to grow when he dropped his first mixtape, Still Goin' In, and by 2013, he was collaborating with major artists like Gucci Mane, YG, and Jeezy. However, it was his track type of way that truly catapulted him to fame, eventually going gold. Rich Homie Quan was on fire, and in 2014, his career reached new heights when he linked up with Young Thug and Birdman. Quan and Young Thug already had a few tracks together, so when they hit the studio for a full project, the results were electric. Birdman stepped in, positioning them as the faces of his rich gang. Their chemistry was undeniable, and no one expected their collaborations to blow up the way they did. Their song Lifestyle was an instant hit, going platinum and dominating the charts. A few months later, they released the mixtape Rich Gang, Dub Tour Part 1, solidifying their place in the industry. It looked like Quan and Young Thug were about to take over the rap game together, but things quickly fell apart. Shortly after their rise to fame, Quan announced he was stepping away from Rich Gang to focus on his solo career. At the time, no one knew there was drama behind the scenes. However, during a show, Young Thug dissed Quan, calling him stupid. Quan later revealed in an interview with ESPN that the comment hurt him deeply, but most fans had no idea what had sparked the beef between the two. At first, people speculated that the fallout was over money or industry politics, but the real story was much darker. A few months before Quan announced he was leaving Rich Gang, a man named Big Nut was shot and killed in Atlanta. Big Nut was a well-respected figure in the streets and had close ties to the rap scene, especially with YFN Lucci. He was also friends with Fly, the head of TIG. Back then, Quan, Young Thug, and Lucci were all close, but everything changed after Big Nut's death. Rumors began to circulate that Young Thug's YSL crew was involved in the murder, which sparked a wave of violence across the city. Quan was also close to Big Nut, and word spread that he distanced himself from Young Thug because of the killing. To make matters worse, there were rumors that Young Thug's crew had been involved in a shooting targeting Quan's father back in 2014. YSL Woody, a known associate of Young Thug, allegedly drove to the barbershop owned by Quan's father and opened fire, hitting him multiple times. Fortunately, Quan's father survived the attack, but the incident fueled even more tension between Quan and Young Thug. As if that wasn't enough, there was paperwork circulating that reportedly showed Quan discussing a conflict between his father and Birdman. According to rumors, Quan's father had beef with Birdman and wanted Quan to distance himself from him. Some even suggested that Birdman tried to have Quan's father killed in an attempt to pressure Quan into signing with him. When this information surfaced, people started accusing Quan of being a snitch, but Quan took to Instagram Live to shut down the rumors. He challenged anyone to prove he had cooperated with law enforcement, even offering to trade lives with anyone who could produce evidence. When Young Thug and his YSL crew were hit with RICO charges, Quan's name was listed as a potential witness. However, this didn't mean he would testify against Young Thug, and it was unclear if he would even be called to court. During the trial, YSL Woody was asked if Young Thug had issues with Quan bringing gangsters to his apartment, which Woody replied by asking Young Thug the same question, causing the entire court to laugh. Despite all the drama, Quan continued to focus on his music. He experienced beef with other rappers, including Johnny Cinco and Future, but those disputes never escalated too far. Quan's career hit another bump in the road in 2017 when he faced the possibility of 30 years in prison over drug and gun charges. Police pulled over his crew on the way to a show and found a stolen gun, marijuana, and ecstasy in their vehicle. Fortunately, the case was thrown out in 2019 due to a lack of evidence, and Quan avoided a long prison sentence. Throughout the ups and downs, Quan continued making music and investing in real estate, pulling in millions from his business ventures. By 2024, Quan seemed to have left the drama behind, focusing on himself and his future. He told Revolt in July 2022 that he wanted to be remembered as an artist who did things his way, a kid from Atlanta with a dream who believed in himself and won. But just days after those comments, shocking news broke: Rich Homie Quan had passed away. At first, it seemed like just another rumor, but then TMZ confirmed the tragic news. Quan was gone at just 34 years old. Reports initially suggested it was an accidental overdose, with one source claiming it was due to a bad pill. TMZ obtained the emergency call from his girlfriend, who said Quan wasn't breathing and had no pulse. According to her, Quan had been lying on the couch since the morning, and when she moved him, he began foaming at the mouth. This wasn't the first time Quan had been linked to drug issues. In 2015, while shooting the music video for Walkthrough in Atlanta, Quan suffered 2 seizures, fell, and hit his head. Rumors circulated that the seizures were caused by lean, but Quan denied being addicted to drugs. He admitted that he had been partying and lacked sleep, which combined with the heat in Atlanta, had taken a toll on his body. However, some fans remain skeptical, given Quan's past struggles. Now, new details are emerging that suggest Rich Homie Quan's death might not have been the accidental overdose many believed. While early reports pointed to a possible overdose, new evidence has fueled rumors that something more sinister may have been at play. As we learn more about what really happened to Quan, one thing is clear: his legacy as an artist who changed the rap game and left a lasting impact on Atlanta's music scene will never be forgotten.